The old granny lay weakly on the bed, as if she did not even have the strength to stand up. Hearing movement outside, the old granny asked in a daze, "Little one, you're back." Li Yuanqing carried a basket on his head and carefully placed it beside the old lady. "Grandma, I'm back. Did you bring a friend back?" The old granny sat up. Her eyes were actually blind too. Li Yuanqing went over and carefully helped Grandma up. He looked at Li Yuanqing and introduced him to Grandma. "Grandma, this is young Master Li. He's from a rich family. Young Master Li even gave me a pill. He's a good person." "Really? What pill? It costs a lot of spirit stones, right?" The granny looked at Li Yuanqing worriedly. "Young master, we are not rich either." "So?" Li Yuanqing smiled and explained, "Old madam, you've misunderstood. The little guy helped me a lot today. He deserves it." "Is that so?" The old granny grabbed the child's hand excitedly. "Hurry up and thank young master." The little beggar bowed obediently to Li Yuanqing. "Thank you, young master." The old granny was suddenly excited and wanted to get off the bed. The little beggar hurriedly stopped her. "Grandma, your legs aren't feeling well, so you shouldn't come down. Young master just came to take a look first. They're leaving later. I'll send them off. Wait for me here." The old granny tried. It seemed difficult for him to move her legs. Finally, she gave up. She sat on the bed and faced Li Yuanqing. She forced a smile and looked at him. "I wonder which sect you're from and where you're from? Do you have any plans to take in a disciple?" "Grandma, why are you telling young master this? I think it's about time for young master and the others to leave. I'll send them out now." The old granny was still very persistent. "Young master, look at our little one. Little one has been smart since he was young. He has talent, but I don't have any resources on me, and it delayed little one's cultivation. That's why his cultivation hasn't improved. You can't blame him at all." The little beggar could not stump the old granny no matter what. His face was red as he looked at Li Yuanqing and mouthed, "Young master, don't believe her. Let's go out." Little one turned around and placed the old lady on the backrest again. He said to the old lady, "Young master and the others still have something important to deal with today. They're leaving now. I'll send young master off now. Grandma, wait for me. I'll be back soon. Don't move around." As little one spoke, he turned around and pulled Li Yuanqing's hand out. This child. Hall Master Wang still did not understand this little beggar. Look at this granny. She also hoped that the little beggar could find a good master so that he could increase his cultivation. Wasn't this what cultivators should pursue? However, this little beggar completely ignored Li Yuanqing's request and was very resistant. Now that the old lady had said it to his face, he was still so resistant. It was unknown what he was thinking. Li Yuanqing followed the little beggar all the way to the outside of the cave abode. The little beggar led the two of them to a very remote tree. When he could no longer hear the granny's call, he finally stopped and looked at the two of them guiltily. "I'm sorry, young master. Grandma was just saying. I appreciate your kindness, but I really can't leave with you." Li Yuanqing was very patient. He patted his head and asked him, "Then what are you worried about? If there's anything you can't let go of, please tell me." This was the first time the little beggar had heard such a big shot speak to him so gently. He looked up at Li Yuanqing and shook his head. "Young master, just pretend that you've never seen me before. Grandma has raised me for so long. It's impossible for me to leave her here alone. You saw her current situation. After she went crazy, the meridians in her entire body were in chaos. Now, her body has already lost the ability to move and her eyes are blind. If this continues, her other organs will fail one by one. I'm afraid she won't live for long. Young master, please forgive me and let me accompany Grandma on her last journey." As the little beggar spoke, he started crying. Tears flowed out like a flood. He thought about how he was alone when he was young. If not for Grandma who saved him from that vicious dog, he would have long been a snack in the mouth of someone else's spirit beast. A little beggar like him, who had no family or friends, was only worthy of being food to others' dogs. At that time, he could already remember some things. Although he was still young at that time, that scene was still so clear to today. It was replayed in his dreams every day. The little beggar had been attached to the old granny since he was young. Even though the old granny had already become like this, he still followed the old granny. Even so, the old granny's condition was getting worse and worse. She did not have much life left and had already planned to die in this cave abode. She wanted to chase the little beggar away every day. The little beggar was also a smart person. Although the old granny tried all kinds of methods to chase him away, he refused to leave no matter what. In the end, the old granny could only compromise. Hallmaster Wang sighed. There's actually such kinship in this world. It's really lamentable. Li Yuanqing was also moved. Cultivators had never had any relatives or friends. It was just that in their cultivation system, they could still retain such warmth. It really reminded him of the feelings he had not felt for a long time. At the very least, not only was the beggar smart, but he was also a person who valued relationships and loyalty. If he was kept by his side, he would definitely be an indomitable figure in the future. Li Yuanqing squatted in front of the little beggar and gently wiped the tears off his face. Don't cry, don't cry. I know some medical skills. Can you let me take a look at the old granny? The little beggar immediately stopped crying and looked at Li Yuanqing in surprise with his big black eyes. But young master, I can't take out 500 spirit stones. I don't want your spirit stones. The little beggar gritted his teeth and thought for a moment. Suddenly, he knelt on the ground with a plop. If young master can cure grandma, I'm willing to work for you for the rest of my life. I'll do whatever you ask me to do. I, Luwan, will definitely not have any objections. Your name is Luwan? That's right. I don't want you to be my slave. I want you to follow me for 3 years. After that, you're free to do whatever you want. 3 years? The little beggar looked up at Li Yuanqing in disbelief. How could his cheap life be worth a few hundred spirit stones in 3 years? One had to know that when he invited a very powerful spirit transformation realm expert to help his grandmother clear her meridians, the other party had directly asked for 500 spirit stones. Moreover, he could not guarantee that it would be cured. How could the little beggar take out so many spirit stones? He could only give up dejectedly. However, today, this young master who had descended from the sky could fulfill his long-cherished wish of many years and help his grandmother treat her chronic illness. As long as grandma's twisted meridians could recover, her life would be saved. However, grandma's chi deviation went for several years. The meridians in her body were already dilapidated. The later it goes, the harder it is to treat. At this point, there was no hope of saving her. The little beggar looked at Li Yuanqing with red eyes and said, Young master, don't worry. Whether you can cure her or not, my life is already yours. Hallmaster Wang carefully walked to Li Yuanqing's side and reminded him, Young Master Li, I see that the meridians in this old woman's body are broken inch by inch. They're already dilapidated. I'm afraid there's no value in saving her. If you want to save her, I'm afraid you'll need many high-grade materials. Where can we find those materials? Hallmaster Wang had also taken a simple look just now. With the old lady's injuries, just the medicine that was used to treat her injuries would cost at least tens of thousands of spirit stones, let alone 500 spirit stones. Moreover, this was only the price of the materials. If they asked an alchemy master to save her, the money they would spend would be more than tens of thousands of spirit stones. This old granny couldn't even take out a few hundred spirit stones. She couldn't even scam a single cent from a scammer. How is it possible for her to treat this illness? Li Yuanqing said indifferently, It's fine. I already have a plan. I might need your help later. Don't be stingy with your spiritual energy. Young master, don't worry. As long as you need an order, I will definitely help you with all my might. The three of them returned to the cave abode. The old lady was leaning against the back of the chair and looking out leisurely. Although she could not see any light, she knew this cave abode too well. She had lived in this cave abode for her entire life and knew everything about it. The old granny looked puzzled when she heard the footsteps of 3 people. Warily, she drew a small dagger from under her pillow and placed it behind her. She spoke coldly to the outside. I wonder what else you want, young Master Li. Although we're poor, my grandson isn't someone who can be bullied by anyone. The old granny had already sensed that there seemed to be something hidden in the little fellow's strange tone. She already felt that something was wrong. In addition, These two fellows had returned and refused to let go. They had clearly sent them away just now, but now they had returned themselves. Nothing good must have happened. She was already prepared to fight the enemy. Even if she had to risk her life, she had to stall for time and let her grandson escape. The little beggar, Li Yuanqing, hurriedly went up to comfort her. "Grandma, don't be anxious. Young Master Li said that he can treat your illness." "What? That's absolutely impossible." The dagger that the old granny had already pulled out fell to the ground with a plop. However, after thinking about it carefully, the old granny gave up such hope. She gently held the little beggar's hand and said gratefully, "Little one, don't have such thoughts in the future. My life is no longer worth anything. It doesn't matter if I die. Leave those spirit stones for yourself to cultivate. Look, you've been stuck at this realm for a long time and haven't advanced. If you don't improve, I'm afraid you won't have any hope in this life." Li Yuanqing wiped his tears and said to the old lady, "Grandma, don't worry. Young Master said that he won't accept any spirit stones. Grandma, just let him treat you. Don't think about anything else. You will definitely recover." Li Yuanqing also smiled and comforted her. "Old madam, don't think too much. I've already said it just now. Your eldest grandson helped me a lot just now. If not for him, I'm afraid I would have been in big trouble just now. Therefore, this is also one of the rewards. Old madam, I've offended you." Before the old granny could react, Li Yuanqing waved his sleeve and a gust of wind blew in the cave abode. Li Yuanqing felt his vision blur, and his grandmother suddenly disappeared. He looked out and saw that his grandmother had floated in front of Li Yuanqing. Grandma's withered body was like a skeleton as she sat cross-legged in front of Li Yuanqing. Her eyes were closed and her hands were relaxed on her legs. Her expression was very relaxed. Ever since Grandma went crazy and was tortured by her illness every day, she had never looked so relaxed. The little beggar was very touched as he looked at Li Yuanqing. He must have a way. Young Master Li must have a way. Li Yuanqing's right hand was placed horizontally in front of Hall Master Wang. Just as Hall Master Wang was feeling puzzled, natural treasures appeared in Li Yuanqing's right hand like a treasure box. Moreover, the years of those treasures were shockingly high. The starting point was more than 1,000 years old, and many of them were even 10,000 years old. In this era, they were all peerless and rare existences. If they were brought out, they would be sold for hundreds of thousands or millions. However, Li Yuanqing poured out a large pile of them like he was throwing out trash. Hall Master Wang was like a primary school student who had never seen the world. He stared blankly at the treasures that kept pouring out of Li Yuanqing's hand. He was completely numb now. Ever since the 10,000-year-old snow plant was taken out, Hall Master Wang felt that he had already lost his ability to think. Those eyes were operating like a machine. He did not even know what he was seeing. He was already confused. Li Yuanqing had never seen these good treasures before. He only stared blankly at the things that kept appearing in Li Yuanqing's hands. It was as if he was performing a magic trick. He had never seen a storage Dharma treasure before due to his financial status. Even his neighbors did not have it. These treasures were dragged in Li Yuanqing's hand and began to slowly spin, forming a small vortex. After a while, Li Yuanqing finally stopped pouring things out. This segment of showing off the treasures finally came to an end. Only then did Hall Master Wang react. He looked at the treasures that were hovering in midair and constantly spinning. They looked really scary. After careful calculations, there were at least dozens of them. Moreover, at least 10 of them were at least 10,000 years old. These were top-notch treasures. The things that Li Yuanqing casually took out were enough to raise a small sect. However, he did not feel sorry at all, and casually gave them to an old granny he did not know. This old granny was seriously ill and on the verge of death. There was no value in treating her at all. Every spirit stone that was wasted on her was unnecessary. However, Li Yuanqing had spent millions just to save this old granny. It was really scary. Hall Master Wang did not speak for a long time. He only swallowed his saliva and calmed his pounding heart. Hall Master Wang's gaze was only on the herbs, and he did not notice what Li Yuanqing was doing with his other hand. Li Yuanqing's left hand was not idle either. He kept releasing spiritual energy and pouring it into the old granny's body. The old granny's withered skin slowly began to become transparent. From this transparent body, one could vaguely see lines that kept shining. Those patterns were originally very chaotic, but it was as if a very huge hand was constantly teasing them, slowly clearing up the complicated meridians one by one. Finally, they returned to a very complicated network. The little beggar watched this scene in shock. Something very magical seemed to have happened in his grandmother's body. How did this young master do it? This young master was like a god in front of him. Although it looked very lively and those meridians were slowly unblocked, if one looked carefully, they would discover that these meridians were like maze fragments. However, Li Yuanqing had found them again and figured it out. There were thousands of cracks in them. These meridians were all cracked. If not for Li Yuanqing's spiritual energy outside helping to repair these meridians, they would probably be broken in the next second and she would die. This was also the most dangerous time. If Li Yuanqing was even a little careless, the old granny's life would not be spared. She had been struggling at death's door for so long and was about to die at Li Yuanqing's hands. However, Li Yuanqing would not allow such a thing to happen. The small vortex circling in the air ignited with flames. The flames were very bright and transparent. The red flames kept burning the herbs. It completely dried up the water in the herbs and evaporated the medicinal properties. More importantly, after being burned by the flames, the power became completely chaotic. In the end, the chaotic energy was slowly roasted and gathered together. Just like that, Li Yuanqing controlled the old granny's body while refining pills with one hand. Half an hour passed slowly. Even someone as strong as Li Yuanqing had beads of sweat on his forehead. There was no need to say anything about Hall Master Wang and the little beggar. The two of them were completely focused on this and did not dare to relax at all. After concentrating for so long, they had exhausted a lot of stamina. They had yet to react. If they did, they would realize that their backs were completely drenched in sweat. Although they were not the ones who refined the pills, their fatigue was not inferior to Li Yuanqing at all. In fact, they looked even more tired than Li Yuanqing. Hall Master Wang really did not expect young Master Li to have so many surprises for him. Initially, he thought that young Master Li was just an ordinary expert. He did not expect him to have such superb alchemy skills. One had to know that young Master Li's talent in cultivation had already reached the peak. There were few humans in the world who could catch up to him. However, he never expected that young Master Li's alchemy skills were so superb. Even in this world, there were probably not many people who could use such methods. They actually did not need an alchemy furnace to refine such complicated pills. Oh my God! Hall Master Wang watched with his mouth agape. He had already forgotten the time. At this moment, after the flames in the vortex experienced a continuous high temperature, the temperature slowly decreased. The red gradually turned yellow before slowly dissipating. When all the colors disappeared, there were only 3 small pills left in the pile of natural treasures. Li Yuanqing was quick-witted and picked up one of the 3 pills floating in the air. He gently patted the old granny's back with his left hand. Her mouth immediately opened. He stuffed the pill into the old granny's mouth and exerted some force. The old granny swallowed the pill immediately. Li Yuanqing took the opportunity to take out a small jade bottle from somewhere. The 2 pills obediently entered the small bottle. He did not even turn around to speak. He threw the small medicine bottle into Lu Wen's arms. "One every day. I'll look for you in 3 days." Lu Wen held the bottle with both hands and stared blankly at the bottle in his hand, completely unaware of what was happening outside. When he heard Li Yuanqing's words, he immediately looked up to look for him. However, the cave abode was empty. There was no one else. "Young master?" Lu Wen looked around and happened to see his grandmother lying behind him. At this moment, his grandmother was lying on the bed with a peaceful expression, as if she was just sleeping. He hurried to test his grandmother's breathing. Her breathing was very steady and her pulse was steady. In the past, his grandmother's pulse was always very, very chaotic. It was simply too chaotic to look at. However, it was so stable today and had completely returned to the level of a normal person. Moreover, he could feel the power in his grandmother's body. Originally, The spiritual energy in his grandmother's body had already entered a state of loss and was completely impossible to gather again. However, he could feel such a huge power today. Everything that his grandmother had lost was fine again. Back then, she had gone crazy from cultivating and her meridians were broken. Her spiritual energy had dissipated all of a sudden. Now, it has been replenished completely. There was actually such a thing. Li Yuanqing lay beside the old granny's bed in ecstasy and wailed. After leaving the little beggar's cave abode, Li Yuanqing brought Hall Master Wang back to their library. Today was quite a fulfilling day. Although he did not see any especially exciting competitions, Li Yuanqing was very satisfied to be able to know these two talented children. However, Hall Master Wang was still in shock and could not recover for a long time. What happened? What kind of person was he following? Why was this person so powerful? The more Hall Master Wang thought about it, the more uncertain he became. His entire body was light as he walked, as if he no longer had the confidence to follow behind Li Yuanqing. After returning to the library, Hall Master Wang recovered and heaved a long sigh of relief. "Young master, you spent a lot of money this time, right?" Hall Master Wang looked at Li Yuanqing guiltily. In the end, this little beggar was still a member of Rong City. Although Rong City had indeed developed much better than before under the lead of the city lord, it was undeniable that there were indeed many situations like the little beggar in Rong City. This was inevitable. After all, on the path of immortal cultivators, only the strong were respected. Weaklings like them should be eliminated. However, it did not feel appropriate for Li Yuanqing to spend so much money to save an old woman today. After all, Li Yuanqing was their esteemed guest. Moreover, Li Yuanqing had personally helped them out a few days ago. Otherwise, the entire Rong City would have already become ruins. How would they have the time to look at these beggars? In the end, this money should not be paid by Li Yuanqing. It should be paid by their city lord manor. Li Yuanqing said as if he did not care. "It's fine. It's just a little money. This child is indeed very talented. With some nurturing in the future, he will probably grow into a very impressive figure. I think highly of him." Hall Master Wang scratched his head and said carefully, "Yes, but this child's meridians are only very ordinary. There are many children in the city with extraordinary talent. Their meridians are smooth, and they are talented. They can be said to be geniuses in cultivation." Li Yuanqing did not care about this at all. He said to Hall Master Wang, "The meridians are actually secondary. The more difficult the innate cultivation is, the more tenacious one will be. Moreover, in the later stages of cultivation, one will have the upper hand. This is what it means to be late, but arrive first." Hall Master Wang smiled bitterly and said, "Young master, you're just saying?" However, with the resources in the catacombs, it's very difficult to take the first step even if you want to. How can you talk about the next step? That's already too late. I'm afraid there are very few people in the entire catacombs who want to reach that step." Li Yuanqing only smiled and did not answer. "I'm tired today, so I'll go and rest first. Hall Master Wang, bring me to see other places tomorrow." "Thank you, Hall Master Wang, for bringing me to see such a novel competition today." Hall Master Wang still felt guilty. He had clearly not done anything, but his young master was so polite. It really made him feel guilty. "Young master, stop talking about this. I almost caused trouble for you today and made you spend so many treasures. However, don't worry, young master. I will definitely report this matter to the city lord. Rong City will definitely pay for it. There's no need for that. Hall Master Wang, you should rest first. I see that the spiritual energy in your body is quite chaotic. You should quickly calm down." As Li Yuanqing spoke, he returned to his residence to recover his spiritual energy. Although the treatment just now was not particularly troublesome, it had cost him a lot of spiritual energy. However, it was worth it to be able to treat such an old granny's injuries. Hall Master Wang stood at the back, not knowing whether to laugh or cry as he looked in the direction Li Yuanqing had disappeared. He was afraid to speak because of Li Yuanqing's actions just now. However, this money was used by Li Yuanqing to save the people of Rong City. No matter what, he had to report this to the city lord. Hall Master Wang thought for a moment and rushed towards the city lord manor. "Is there such a thing? It's fine. Since young Master Li likes to treat this old granny, we should take out this money. This is natural. You didn't do anything wrong. Yi Qiluo was very gratified after hearing Hall Master Wang's explanation. She felt that Hall Master Wang had done the right thing by coming over to report. Then how many materials did young Master Li spend later? How many spirit stones did he use in total? Just give me a rough estimate and report it to the accountant. Let the accountant give you the funds. Just say that I said it. Yi Qiluo said this very confidently, but Hall Master Wang was very hesitant. He carefully looked at Yi Qiluo and reminded her, "But City Lord, young Master Li has taken out a lot of things of value this time." Yi Qiluo had been busy preparing for the city defense works recently. She wanted to completely turn Rong City into an impregnable fortress. She was not in the mood to worry about these small matters. Yi Qiluo looked at Hall Master Wang unhappily and said, "Hall Master Wang, why are you still hesitating over such a small sum of money? Do you know what would have happened to us if not for young Master Li?" Hall Master Wang smiled bitterly and said, "But City Lord, this is really not a small sum of money. He saved an old lady. How much materials can he spend? How much can he use even with the weather? Tell me what he used." Yi Qiluo was furious with Hall Master Wang's stinginess. Hall Master Wang was good at everything, but he was too stingy. It was because of this stinginess that he was very good at managing the library. Hall Master Wang reported honestly, "There's a 10,000-year-old ginseng, a 1,000-year-old cold worm, and a soul grass of unknown age. Moreover, I think the snow lotus he took out is at least 10,000 years old." Yi Qiluo had just brought over a cup of spiritual tea. She almost spat it out after drinking half a mouthful. Initially, she thought that it would not cost much to treat illnesses and save people. But why was Li Yuanqing so ruthless? Are you kidding me? City Lord, how would I dare to joke with you? This is all true. I was stunned when young Master Li took it out. Do I have to report this? Then isn't there anything cheaper? Yi Qiluo's cheeks were twitching. She had only spent tens of millions of spirit stones to build the city defense fortifications here. But why was this young Master Li so ruthless in saving an unknown old lady? Not good, not good, not good. A guard in tattered clothes ran into the city lord manor in a panic and knelt in front of Yi Qiluo. Yi Qiluo was discussing how to further strengthen the defense of the city wall. Actually, I thought that the current fortifications were enough. Moreover, if we continue to stack more defenses, not only will it be very bloated, but it will also easily cause some negative effects. The sudden intrusion of the guard interrupted everyone's conversation. They all turned their gazes to the guard. What happened? They looked very relaxed now. Not to mention that the defense outside the city had been built very completely. There was also such a powerful person guarding here. It would not be easy for the rotten fish and prawns outside to attack. Originally, Rong City was filled with a very cheerful atmosphere. Everyone felt that this situation was very beneficial to the humans of Rong City. There was nothing to worry about. Today's meeting was originally a very relaxed and normal meeting, but this good mood was disturbed by this person who had suddenly barged in. City Lord, something happened outside. Tell me clearly what happened. You're so noisy the moment you come in. I think it's fine outside. There's no news from the city guards. Which department are you from? The person who spoke was the general of the city defense department. He thought that his defense of the city was foolproof and that nothing would go wrong. General Ma, let him finish first. How did you become like this? Who attacked you, and why were you so severely injured? The devils are here. What? How can there be devils? Although the people in Rong City had heard some news about the arrival of the devils, they only knew that the devils were only restricted to a small area of Sea City and had never gone out again. Moreover, they had heard that those devils seemed to have been imprisoned by an expert and were all sealed in Sea City. They should be safe now. How could there be a problem? Yi Qiluo was originally resting with her eyes closed and ignored this matter. However, when she heard this, she immediately opened her eyes and asked the guard, "Where did you meet them?" 300 miles outside the city. 300 miles? This distance was too close. If the vanguard team wanted to advance here, it would not take long for them to reach Rong City. When everyone present heard this distance, they exclaimed involuntarily. They only thought that even though the devils had been stirring up trouble in Sea City, they were very far away from them. However, when they opened their eyes, they were already under their noses. This was too terrifying. Pass down the order. Immediately gather all the troops you can mobilize to prevent the devils from invading. This matter cannot be delayed. It was fine if they fought with those human rebels, but if they really faced these devils, the pressure on them would be much greater. These things came and went without a trace, killing people invisibly. If ordinary soldiers like them were not on guard, their lives would be reaped on a large scale. After receiving this news, the entire Rome city was mobilized. Anyone with combat strength was transferred to the defense line. As more and more information was obtained from outside, the decision-makers in Rome City knew more about the trajectory of the devils. These things were indeed from Sea City, but according to the news they had originally received, these devils had been trapped in Sea City. They would not be able to break out in the short term. However, for some reason, they ran out on their own yesterday. Moreover, they were not much weaker than they said. Instead, they were very strong. It was unknown where they got the replenishment from. They did not obtain any useful information about this. All they knew was that the devils had spread out with Sea City as the center. They were gradually approaching Rome City. Moreover, it seemed to be mainly heading towards Rome City. If they continued to spread at this speed, it wouldn't be long before they surrounded Rome City. The tense atmosphere in Rome City naturally could not escape Li Yuanqing's eyes. Li Yuanqing was puzzled as he watched the guards rush over. Rome City had just escaped from a predicament some time ago. It should be peaceful for a period of time now, but why did it seem like something had suddenly happened? Young master, this is the city defense structure you're looking for. Hall Master Wang carried a thick stack of books to Li Yuanqing. What happened outside? Why is everyone in a hurry? Young master, how would I know? However, it seems like they're going to the front line. I feel like there's going to be another war. What's there to fight now? There shouldn't be a war anymore, right? Hall Master Wang knew the same as Li Yuanqing. He did not know what had happened at the City Lord Manor, but the people outside were so flustered. Li Yuanqing stopped a little fellow who was passing by. That person was in a hurry and was originally focused on walking forward. In the end, he inexplicably felt like he was being pulled by something and slowly deviated from his original path. Not only was the track off, but it was also getting more and more ridiculous. It turned a corner and landed on the mountainside below, arriving at the entrance of the library. He looked at the situation in front of him in a daze. He did not know why he had landed here. This was too fast. Moreover, he could not leave no matter how hard he tried. It was as if he was imprisoned by something. He looked up and saw Li Yuanqing and Hall Master Wang standing in front of him. The two of them were looking at him with a smile, feeling that they had ill intentions. Hall Master Wang. Li Yuanqing smiled at him and asked, "What happened outside? Why is everyone so flustered? Where are you going?" The sentries who returned earlier reported that they had discovered the devils in the southwest. The city lord immediately gathered everyone and rushed forward to strengthen the defense. "We can't let the devils get close." "Devils?" Li Yuanqing asked in confusion. "Are you sure it's the devils? But as far as I know, those devils should be trapped in Sea City and can't come out. Why did they appear here?" The young man scratched his head and replied helplessly, "I don't know about that, but that's what the people who came back before said. It shouldn't be fake. I'm afraid we won't know the details until we get to the front." Li Yuanqing frowned and looked in the direction of Sea City. Those devils had clearly been drained of all their strength by the great Devil King and no longer had any combat strength. So why did they suddenly appear now? Moreover, they became so powerful. This was not right. Something must have gone wrong. Without another word, Li Yuanqing disappeared from the spot. The young man who was waiting for his answer was still looking at the place where he was standing in a daze. Little did he know that when he looked over, there was no longer anyone there. Only the equally dumbfounded Hall Master Wang was left. "Hall Master Wang, you can leave first. There's nothing else for you to do here." This guy was stopped in a daze, and now he left in a daze. The entire process seemed to have nothing to do with him. He came down to say a few words and was casually sent away. Hall Master Wang was looking at the sky. Li Yuanqing's movement technique was too fast. He could barely tell which direction Li Yuanqing had gone, but he did not know what Li Yuanqing was going to do. The city lord had instructed him to serve Li Yuanqing well. Now that young master Li had hurriedly run away, what was he going to do? What if something happened to him? Hall Master Wang thought that he should go over and inform the city lord first in case anything happened. On the other hand, Li Yuanqing left the library in a hurry and headed for Sea City. The passageway between the two cities was filled with many people. At this moment, they had already activated their defense. After the previous incident, their emergency response to such a crisis was much stronger than before. There was a defensive position every 10 kilometers from the city wall. They advanced steadily step by step, determined to turn everything within 100 miles of Rong City into a stable defensive area. Li Yuanqing was not too interested in these things. He just took a casual look and rushed straight to the front line. He wanted to see what had happened. After leaving Rong City for another 200 miles, he could see a thick layer of dark clouds covering the sky. These dark clouds were constantly approaching. In these unusual dark clouds, there was a very terrifying and powerful pressure. This pressure seemed to come from his bloodline, like some kind of eternal fear. Just by looking at these things approaching from afar, he could feel the very painful pressure spreading in his heart. The soldiers at the front line wrapped themselves tightly. They had heavy armor sent by the city lord manor that was barely enough to resist some of the pressure. However, the soldiers at the front line were still facing a very serious challenge. Their first defense line was the first to bear the brunt. They faced the approaching devils directly because they wanted to trap the devils here and not let them advance at all. They also had a huge mission on their shoulders. They had built a thick defense system here. The wall made of special materials was extremely thick. These walls were pitch black, and the inside of the walls seemed to emit a faint fluorescent light that kept spreading out. The black fog that spread in from outside seemed to be devoured by the fluorescent light as it touched the wall. It dissipated on the outside of the wall. Although the devils outside were very arrogant and the aura emitted from inside was extremely domineering, they were clearly afraid of these special materials and did not dare to advance rashly. They were blocked by the thick black city wall. The human guards did not dare to relax at all. There was a fixed sentry post every 10 meters, and they had to guard it strictly. They had to keep an eye on the defensive position below at all times. If there were any problems, they had to report it immediately. It had been many years since the human race had faced the devils, but it seemed to be all right. There were not many problems. A group of people was changing shifts at the city wall below. After relaxing for a while, they suddenly seemed to see a person standing in the sky. That person did not look very old, and his figure was not particularly important. He stood in the sky and faced the dark clouds quietly. Moreover, it was completely not protected by the defense system. This was too terrifying. Those dark clouds could immediately devour anything. As long as it was exposed in front of them, it would immediately become their meal. However, this fellow was actually standing there without any protection. Moreover, those devils seemed to not have noticed him at all as they flowed outside very calmly. What's wrong with that person? Is he crazy? Why is he still standing there at a time like this? Hurry up and call him back. The two people who were changing shifts could not care less at this moment. They hurriedly shouted, wanting to call Li Yuanqing down from the sky. However, Li Yuanqing did not care about this at all. Instead, he rushed forward as if he did not hear their shouts. What are you doing? Are you going to die? Come back quickly. The shout behind him summoned a large group of people. These people all noticed Li Yuanqing, who was standing in the sky. They all saw this lunatic. This fellow seemed to be courting death as he rushed towards the demons. What was he doing? Why couldn't he live well? Did he have to die? They kept shouting behind him, but these shouts were useless to Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing still rushed over resolutely and disappeared into the dark clouds. Everyone on the city wall fell silent. They watched helplessly as a living life died in the mouth of the devil. Those devils were not easy to deal with. They would not let go of such fresh meat. Where did this guy come from? Why did he suddenly go there? Hurry up and find out what's going on. Hurry up and report this matter. Everything on the city wall was so quiet, but this sudden incident disrupted everyone's plan. Everyone knew that the devils were very bloodthirsty. If this fellow suddenly rushed up and aroused the bloodthirst of these devils, he would be an eternal sinner. Li Yuanqing entered the black fog. This was not the first time he had dealt with these devils. However, he needed an answer as to how these fellows could escape from Sea City. Originally, only the devils were here in the churning fog. However, a human suddenly crawled in. Moreover, this human seemed to be very strange. They did not know what was on his body that could completely expel their devilish aura, so that they could not detect him. It was also because two powerful devils discovered Li Yuanqing that this news spread among these devils. This small team was the first to discover Li Yuanqing's existence. They pressed over aggressively and arrived in front of Li Yuanqing. Go, kill this human, skin him alive, and drink his flesh and blood. The two teams gathered together and aimed at their target. They wanted to attack, but before they could, Li Yuanqing took the initiative to counterattack. The devils in front of him had already disappeared without a trace before they could do anything. A large space appeared in front of Li Yuanqing. There was no devilish aura within dozens of meters of him. This allowed him to enter the deepest part. After the front was blocked, these simulators gradually gathered and slowly rotated into a huge vortex. In the middle of the vortex was the person at the center. A few devil kings gathered here to discuss this expedition. It's not easy for these humans to find so many anti-devil stones. However, since they have placed their defensive position here, the other places must be weak. We can send a team to surround them from both sides. At that time, we will definitely be able to destroy these humans. That's true. These humans are just an arrow at the end of its flight. What strength can they have? My ancestors had the ability to occupy this place thousands of years ago. There's no need to say anything now. This place will definitely be our victory. These devil kings all looked unfamiliar. It was unknown where they came from, but they were discussing it very happily. Clearly, they were no longer worried about the victory that was at their fingertips. Originally, it was easy for them to take down a small Rong city with their strength. However, the big shot who helped them here had made arrangements and did not let them take down Rong city. Therefore, there was not much pressure for them. They only needed to gather here according to the instructions of the person above. Their attack plan was very simple. In any case, there was nothing to say. After saying that, they became lazy again. Speaking of which, Lord Black Dragon is too paranoid. It's just a small Rong city, but he's actually worried about us. He even wants us to retreat in time when we can't attack. What a joke. Originally, the Black Dragon's order to them was to gather together and retreat if the conditions were suitable. However, to them, there was nothing to retreat at this time. They would naturally be happy to attack and take down Rong City. Just as the few devil kings were discussing enthusiastically, they suddenly felt a huge amount of energy cover the place they were at. The leader rushed out with a devilish claw. What greeted him was another golden hand. The two collided and instantly turned into smoke. Only then did the devil kings wake up and look in that direction. They saw a golden figure walk out of the black fog. This person was wrapped in holy light and walked towards them like a god. With Li Yuanqing's current strength, it would not take much effort to deal with these guys. Suddenly, two eyes stared at these devil kings like an abyss, making them a little afraid. Good Lord, I didn't expect there to be such a powerful person in the human race. When did he arrive here? Someone, capture this person. Without another word, the new devil king shouted for his subordinates to attack Li Yuanqing. The few people beside him stood on both sides and attacked Li Yuanqing without saying anything. The dark clouds in the sky were instantly stirred. Boundless devilish power seemed to emerge from the dark clouds and gathered in their hands, turning into two huge axes that raised the sky and slashed towards Li Yuanqing's head. These two huge axes could be said to have gathered incomparably majestic energy. If they were to hit his head, the consequences would be obvious. Li Yuanqing was so small, yet he stood there fearlessly. Even though he was already looking at the huge axe that was about to land on his head, he was completely fearless. He raised his head and collided with the two huge axes. Just as the two devil kings were about to be happy, they saw that the two huge axes were like small toys made of plastic. They were actually split into two and had no power when the little person below poked them with a finger. This guy actually had such power. He could easily cut apart the huge axe condensed from such majestic power with just a finger. The two Devil Kings were so shocked that their hearts shattered and they retreated. Trash! The great Devil King shouted and sent two more generals. The two of them did not say much after going up and threw out ropes that filled the sky. The rope danced in the sky. After an irregular movement, it twisted and instantly straightened into two huge nets. Li Yuanqing, who was in the middle, was about to be closed in by the two large nets. There was no way out. Those two huge axes were extremely pure young objects. If they were broken through by a strong force from a single point, they could be directly destroyed. However, this huge net was extraordinary. Its toughness and strength were far from what the huge axes could compare to. If he was trapped, the few Devil Kings would attack at the same time. At that time, he would naturally know the consequences. These two Devil Kings thought that victory was in their grasp. It was a joke that this small human dared to barge into their headquarters. This fellow deserved to die here obediently. Before the two Devil Kings could be happy, they saw sword lights suddenly appear from the place where the two huge nets closed. The sword shadows scattered out in all directions like snow. Everything that the sword light touched shattered inch by inch. These two Devil Kings were not even as lucky as the two fellows just now, and could still run out. The two of them could not dodge the sword lights that filled the sky at all, and were turned into minced meat by the sword energy. They disappeared into thin air without a trace. The remaining Devil Kings all looked shocked. They looked at the humans standing below, and did not dare to slack off at all. "Who are you?" "I'm the general of the devils, Qing Muyun." Seeing that his subordinates could not hold on anymore, the new Devil King could no longer ignore them. He could only personally mount his horse and block the front. He glared at Li Yuanqing and questioned him. Li Yuanqing slowly grew taller and came to a level with him. He looked at these devils quietly. "Where are you from? Why are you here?" "You human, you're so rude. We're talking to you nicely, but you don't have any intention of introducing yourself. Could it be that you look down on us?" Li Yuanqing said coldly, "There's no talk of respect yet after dealing with a few devils. How dare you?" When the Devil King heard that Li Yuanqing did not have any respect in his words and instead belittled them, he immediately shouted angrily, "How dare you, human? Take my rod." This guy was indeed much stronger than the few people behind. At a glance, he had the strength of a fourth-grade formation arrangement realm expert. He could not be underestimated. However, this strength was not enough in front of Li Yuanqing. The huge rod transformed into countless phantoms and smashed down in various directions towards Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing dodged, but it was about to be smashed into his body. No matter how powerful his body was, it was difficult for him to withstand such a vicious move. However, Li Yuanqing would not let such a thing happen. He pulled out the sword in his hand. It looked like a very calm sword, but it had a very deep meaning. It left a very strange mark in the sky. At this moment, it was as if the laws condensed from the most originating power of the world were appearing in the human world. It also seemed to be the most peaceful explosion touched by all the geopolitical flames. No matter what it was, the Devil King could not withstand this attack. The long rod in his hand was cut off before it could land. Only half of the rod was left, and not even ashes were left. Half of the Devil King's body had been cut off. He glared at Li Yuanqing, who was standing there motionless, as if he had seen a monster. He hurriedly wanted to retreat. Retreat quickly, according to Lord Black Dragon's instructions. They had saved their lives for the time being. The tornado immediately howled. The tornado that was originally moving very slowly outside roared twice as much at this moment. The huge power formed by the gathering of thousands of devils kept condensing and twisting, throwing Li Yuanqing away. Li Yuanqing still wanted to chase after them, but these guys had already retreated back the way they came with the violent wind. They had no intention of stopping at all, as if they were already prepared to escape. Li Yuanqing looked at the retreating devils and followed without saying anything. Seeing that they were fleeing towards Sea City, he wanted to see what had happened to Sea City to let these guys regain their strength. The humans behind Li Yuanqing looked at the sky that had suddenly become clear. The originally dark clouds in the sky gradually dissipated, and the dark clouds quickly left. They were even 10 times faster than when they came. This strong feeling was really confusing. They did not know why they were here again. It was really strange that they had caused such a commotion. Hurry up and send the news back. The devils have already retreated on a large scale. Although they did not know what this meant, it was very important. They had dodged a bullet this time. These devils had no intention of really attacking them from the beginning. They stopped for a moment after coming here, and now they were retreating quickly. All of this looked natural and smooth, yet there was something wrong. Although it looked very strange, they could not say what was strange. Why did they run away? Could it be related to that person just now? What can it matter? It's just a guy who crawled in to die. There must be no bones left of him. I think these devils must be weak. They saw our impregnable defense and felt that they couldn't attack, so they retreated hurriedly. That makes sense. Li Yuanqing followed these devils all the way to Sea City. He followed the tornado formed by these devils at a leisurely pace. The power of the tornado behind was quite strong, so he was not in a hurry. He was just following from afar. As he walked, the tornado gradually slowed down when they were thousands of miles away from Rong City. These devil kings shrank the range of the tornado and looked at Li Yuanqing, who was chasing after them, with lingering fear. Only then did they realize Lord Black Dragon's kindness to them. Fortunately, we encountered this fellow before we could disperse our troops. Otherwise, we would really die. As expected of the Black Dragon, we should obediently follow the Black Dragon's arrangements and not do these stupid things. They were relieved when they arrived at Sea City. They were generally safe here. Later, we'll set up the array formation outside. As long as we stall this person again, our mission will be completed. We can't do anything else. Everyone has seen this person's strength. Don't worry, we'll guard Sea City according to the original plan. Nothing can go wrong. These devil kings had never been beaten up before. After being beaten up, they knew their mistake and obediently opened the array formation to guard here. Li Yuanqing wanted to attack, but he had no way of doing so. These people's strength had been greatly replenished, and they were even much stronger than before. Before knowing how they had obtained such great power, Li Yuanqing did not dare to attack rashly. This was really troublesome. However, there was no point in dragging it out. Li Yuanqing did not know what their intentions were. Li Yuanqing stood at the periphery of Sea City. Ever since they arrived, they had completely put on a defensive posture. Moreover, they shrank their line until it was at the City Lord Manor. They completely planned to defend and not leave. Seeing that he could not break through them from the front, Li Yuanqing decided to take this time to take a look at the source. These devils had suddenly obtained energy replenishment. It was definitely not because they had obtained devilish energy from somewhere. It must be because the source had been opened again. Otherwise, they would not be able to organize such a powerful force no matter what. If he did not block the source again, there would probably be an endless stream of devils pouring in from behind. Moreover, they had only opened a small hole last time. He did not know what state it was in this time. Last time, such a small hole could release such a powerful devil. Now that it was opened again, he hoped that there would not be too much of a problem. Li Yuanqing had placed a combat array outside the City Lord Manor of Sea City to trap them. If they had the intention to come out, Li Yuanqing would be able to receive the news immediately. Moreover, Li Yuanqing had specially transformed into a phantom of himself and left a wisp of his aura outside Sea City, pretending that he was still here to scare them. After doing all of this, Li Yuanqing felt that there should be nothing missing. Therefore, he hid his figure and ran to the end of the river to see what was wrong. However, before setting off, Li Yuanqing discovered something that made him feel gratified. That was the blood vine that was constantly growing in the domain. The little fellow was growing better and better. Moreover, other than the slow growth in the beginning, it grew very quickly later on. In just a few days, it had already grown very thick. It climbed up a big tree at the side. According to the current situation, it wouldn't be long before it became very muscular. This was already the first model in front of him. He just didn't know if it could transform into the blood vine from before. Li Yuanqing took care of the blood vine every day. The blood vine that had regrown this time had a purer aura than before. In the past, the blood vine was filled with a thick evil aura. The evil aura was very heavy, so heavy that it was difficult to hide. And this new blood vine had a normal demonic aura on it. It was even closer to the spiritual energy in the human body. That feeling made one want to get close to it. This should be a good sign. Li Yuanqing comforted himself. This time, he was the only one traveling alone. It did not take long for him to reach the end of the river. After coming to this place once, he was familiar with it. It would be very easy to come again. He went straight down to the river from the place he had marked. This time, the devilish aura in the river had become even heavier than before. Last time, it was only 30%, but this time, the density had reached 50%. If not for Li Yuanqing's powerful strength, he probably would not have been able to enter the water like this. Such a terrifying concentration of devilish energy would have corroded ordinary people to nothing, leaving only their bones. He arrived at the bottom of the river and arrived in front of the familiar stone tablet. The heaven and earth stone tablet was already half open. It was open just like that, and there was still a steady stream of devilish aura pouring out. From time to time, devils would even run out in groups. Along the way, Li Yuanqing had killed countless devils. His hands were numb, but the devils still kept pouring out. No wonder they were so powerful and could fight so far away. Moreover, the power they had gathered could also successfully stop Li Yuanqing outside Sea City. This was their source of power. Behind them, the power from the source kept injecting fresh, devilish energy into it. Li Yuanqing happened to arrive, and 2 second-grade formation arrangement realm devil experts rushed out. Before the two of them came out, a very sinister laugh sounded. Their laughter gathered in one place. It was like a saw that kept cutting into one's nerves. The string of one's nerves was almost broken. Li Yuanqing stretched out a hand as a tiger claw. A golden hand stretched towards the devil realm behind the heaven and earth stone tablet. The huge hand seemed to pause for a moment inside. Then, the huge hand pulled out at a very fast speed, holding 2 screaming devils. These 2 formation arrangement realm devils were the fellows who had been laughing non-stop just now. Now, they could no longer laugh. The 2 of them did not expect such a powerful person to be waiting for them here. "Kid, who are you? Let us out." The 2 of them kept screaming, but the screams were meaningless. They were spouting nonsense and vulgarities. If they think such a small trick could let Li Yuanqing let them go, they are delusional. Li Yuanqing's expression was cold as he glared at the 2 of them. There was no pity in his eyes. "Who opened this door for you? You brat, what nonsense are you talking about? Why do you care who opened this door?" One of the devils immediately cursed. However, not only was his cursing useless, but it also angered Li Yuanqing. He attacked without hesitation. With a gentle squeeze of his finger, one of the souls was destroyed, leaving behind a devil crystal that he sucked into his hand. The other devil screamed in shock at this scene, but it was useless. He was still in Li Yuanqing's hands, and Li Yuanqing's cold face was in front of him. "Spare me, please. Tell me, who opened your door?" "I can't say for sure." "Can't say? Then you can die too." Li Yuanqing did not hesitate to suddenly clench his huge hand. The golden hand instantly joined together. Immediately after, the little person who was screaming just now disappeared. He wanted to know who had opened this door time and time again. One had to know that no one could open this door without that token. Shouldn't this heaven and earth stone tablet be like this? But why was there still someone who could open the heaven and earth stone tablet? Who was it? Li Yuanqing had an answer in his heart. This might be the only answer. If it was not the black dragon, he could not think of anyone else. But if that was the case, what could they do if the black dragon opened the heaven and earth stone tablet again? There would be another calamity. Li Yuanqing felt the aura of the devil surging out. He took out his token and closed the stone tablet again. After the heaven and earth stone tablet closed, the concentration of devilish aura in the entire river instantly decreased. Li Yuanqing casually set up a small array here. If there were any more movements here, he would be able to sense it in time next time. Li Yuanqing did not feel that anything was wrong. After he closed the heaven and earth stone tablet, he felt that this matter was settled. However, what he did not know was that just as he left, an accident happened on the other side. Rong City. According to the scouts, the rebels are gathering now. They seem to be planning to attack. Yi Qiluo looked at the sentry in front of her calmly. This was already the fourth sentry to return to report. When the first sentry came back to report, she had already gotten all the troops ready to go. She had also sent someone to ask about Li Yuanqing. However, the news that Hall Master Wang brought back made Yi Qiluo's expression even uglier. Li Yuanqing, who Rong City relied on, was actually not in the city. His motive for leaving was to chase away the devils who had rushed here. Those devils were indeed very dangerous, and Li Yuanqing had successfully chased them away. This was naturally something to be glad about. However, the problem was that after Li Yuanqing chased these guys away, he seemed to have left for a long time without any news. At this moment, Rong City was suddenly in danger. The rebels had obtained a large number of weapons from somewhere. They gathered there and set up all their weapons, ready to launch the next round of attacks at any time. Yi Qiluo did not know if their army could withstand it. She hoped that they could. What if they could not? They had already placed all their attention on defense and had invested a lot of resources. If they could not even resist such a defense, then the heavens would really destroy their human race. At the thought of this, Yi Qiluo was not confident at all. If only young Master Li was here now. The generals were waiting for the city lord's order to counterattack. The last time they were ambushed by the enemy, they were caught off guard. They had already suffered a lot, but this was a good opportunity. They were now ready and waiting to attack. Everything had been done perfectly, but the city lord was waiting for young Master Li. This made many generals unhappy. Originally, they were appointed to fight in wars, but now, the city lord did not trust them at all. Instead, she was thinking about an outsider who was completely unrelated. City lord, quickly give the order. Now is the best time for us to attack first. Let's attack first before they completely gather and disrupt their formation. At that time, we won't have to completely withstand their attacks. That's right. We have to attack them first. Otherwise, if they arrange their formation and bombard us with artillery fire like last time, even if our city wall's defense has been forged very tough, we still can't let them consume it so easily. Two generals immediately stood up and petitioned Yi Qiluo. Yi Qiluo hesitated, not knowing if she should make a move. Perhaps it would be better to wait for Li Yuanqing to return now. Li Yuanqing definitely had his own arrangements, but Li Yuanqing had temporarily left. If they went up to fight the other party like this, they might be lured into their trap. If more than half of their troops were lured out under such circumstances, their defense would become weak. The defense that they were proud of would probably be useless. This put Yi Qiluo in a difficult position. On one hand, she wondered if she should expend their strength to stop the enemy's formation. On the other hand, she wondered if she should continue to defend here and maintain their strength. Although it was a huge test of the city's defense, they were still prepared. While Yi Qiluo was hesitating, the generals at the side were already very impatient. They all knew what the city lord was thinking. Recently, the city lord had been thinking about that young man called Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing could be said to have peerless martial arts and was extremely powerful. He could even withstand such an attack and return it. He is a great expert. However, Li Yuanqing had nothing to do with them after all. How could they hold the lives of everyone in Rong City in Li Yuanqing's hands? In their opinion, Li Yuanqing was not here now. It was a good time for them to contribute to Rong City. If they did not dare to make a move now, when would they? Would they wait for him to return? Moreover, Yi Qiluo's hesitation made everyone even more anxious. From their gazes, they could tell what the other party meant. It was obvious that most people had the same opinion. They felt that the city lord was just a girl and was in her youth. It was natural for sparks to fly when a young girl in her prime encountered such a talented and smart young man. However, managing the entire human race was not as simple as romance. If she controlled the fate of the entire human race but was obsessed with romance all day long, how could she control everyone's lives? The great general, who had been silent all this while, suddenly said in a low voice, "Since this is a large-scale battle with the rebels, it depends on whether we're preparing a proper command center. Only then can we completely mobilize all our strength to fight the rebels." Yi Qiluo looked at the great general in confusion, not understanding what the command center meant. However, the others instantly understood the great general's intentions. They stood up and echoed, "I think it'll definitely work." We have such a huge city in our hands now. We can't make small-scale decisions like before. We have to have a complete decision-making process now. Only then can we ensure that the human race in Rome City will prosper.